You think the problem is confidence. You think you just need to become more confident, more assertive, seek less validation, set more boundaries, stop people pleasing. But the truth is, you're not able to do any of those things until you become one thing: authentic. When you're authentic, you're automatically more confident because you have to be confident enough to be yourself. When you're authentic, you automatically seek less validation because you trust yourself more than you trust other people's opinions. When you're authentic, you don't have to try to be more assertive because you're able to speak your mind. And when you're authentic, you don't have to constantly think about setting boundaries because your authenticity communicates before you do. It communicates, this is who I am, this is what I think, this is what I need, and this is what I'm available for, without you needing to constantly explain yourself. The word insecure comes from the Latin in meaning not, securus meaning safe. So insecure literally means not feeling safe. And that's exactly what you might be dealing with, not feeling safe being yourself. So if insecurity is not feeling safe being yourself, authenticity is learning to feel safe being exactly who you are. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the 4 things that keep you insecure, meaning not feeling safe being yourself, the hidden ways you give your authority away without realizing it, and 4 changes you can make today to become more authentic and step into your authority. Starting with the 4 things that keep you insecure, what does the word authentic actually mean? Authentic comes from the Greek word authentikos, meaning genuine, original, and acting on one's own authority, which is the opposite of the things we do when we don't feel safe being ourselves. The first thing is seeking validation. And what it really means is, I value your opinion over my own. If you say I'm good enough, I must be good enough. If you say I'm doing the right thing, I must be doing the right thing. So how I feel about myself and who I am depends on what you think of me. So you give your authority away to someone else. The second thing is people pleasing, which really means I value your happiness and your satisfaction over my own. And this is where it gets complicated, because even as a Christian, I always thought that putting other people first and being selfless is the right thing to do. And I have many clients with similar values who end up doing what makes other people happy because they think that's the loving thing to do. But what I came to understand is that it doesn't say love your neighbor more than yourself. It says love your neighbor as yourself. Because when you try to please everyone, it doesn't come from love. It comes from fear. Fear of upsetting people, fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of judgment. And fear has nothing to do with love. So people pleasing isn't about loving someone else, it's about self-protection. The third thing is performance. What do we do when we don't feel safe being ourselves? Anything we need to do to feel safe. And a lot of time that shows up as becoming the person we think others would approve of. But the thing is, because every person approves of different things, you become a different version of yourself depending on who you're around. The fourth thing is indecisiveness. Struggling to make decisions come down to 2 things. 1, you don't trust yourself enough to make a decision. And 2, you don't trust yourself enough to be able to handle the outcome. And the second point is more important than the first point, because the goal isn't to always make the right decision, because we'll never be able to make the right decision. Some decisions will get right, some we won't. The goal is to trust yourself enough to handle the outcome, even when you make the wrong decision. And a lot of people think indecisiveness is a personality trait, but it's not. It's not that some people are just more decisive than others. Indecisiveness comes down to self-trust. The more you trust yourself, the more decisive you are. So these 4 traits come down to one thing: insecurity, not feeling safe being yourself. And the reason people think they don't struggle with those things is because they think these things show up in big, obvious ways, like smiling at everyone, or going around asking people if they like you, or speaking loudly for attention. But the reality is that these things show up in subtle and subconscious ways, in ways that even seem normal and harmless, and sometimes even look like humility or being caring. Which takes us to the next point, the hidden ways you give your authority away without realizing it. So let's look at the subconscious and subtle ways insecurity shows up. The first point was seeking validation, and the subtle and subconscious ways you might seek validation is through putting yourself down and downplaying your achievements so other people can disagree with you. For example, saying something like, I look horrible today, or I'm really bad at this, or I failed at this, so that other people can tell you, no, you look amazing, no, you haven't failed, no, look at what you've achieved. The other way it shows up is through showing your relationships, your possessions, your success on social media. Because if enough people like and comment, that makes you feel validated. And the third way it shows up is through fishing for compliments, through indirect questions. So something like, do you think this looks good on me? Or I'm not sure about my hair. These are the ways you might ask someone else to tell you whether you look good or not, to validate you. And the fourth and the most obvious way is to speak highly of yourself. And there's a difference between owning your achievements and owning who you are and boasting about them. Owning who you are and what you've achieved comes from a place of confidence. Boasting about them, speaking about yourself, speaking highly of yourself, making things about yourself, putting other people down, that comes from arrogance. And arrogance comes from insecurity. Because if you genuinely own who you are, you don't feel the need to constantly make other people aware of who you are and what you've achieved. The second point was people pleasing, and the subtle and subconscious ways you might people please is through avoiding conflict, is by never setting a boundary, is by always being the bigger person, always apologizing first, or asking questions like, are you okay? Are you upset with me? Because the underlying belief is, if everyone is happy with me, then I'm okay. If everyone is happy with me, then I'm enough. The third point is performance, and the subtle ways you might perform is by always trying to make people laugh, always trying to be funny, making grand gestures, giving expensive gifts, overachieving, always being helpful, becoming whoever other people need you to be. Because the underlying belief is, if I provide enough value, then no one can reject me. If I become valuable enough, then I'll be enough. The fourth point is indecisiveness, and the way it shows up is by asking everyone for their opinions, seeking reassurance before making decisions, always second-guessing yourself or ignoring your own intuition. Because when you don't listen to your own intuition, you become confused, and confusion is a great reason to go to other people and seek reassurance. So the underlying belief is, everyone else knows better than I do. I don't trust myself. I don't make the right decisions. And underneath all of these things, seeking validation, people-pleasing, performing, indecisiveness is one thing, not feeling safe being yourself. And that takes us to the next question, how to finally feel safe enough to be yourself and take back your authority. When it comes to seeking validation, I actually don't believe it's possible to never seek validation, because at one point or another you want to know, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Is this right for me? But the problem is, who are you seeking validation from? Most people ask the wrong source. Most people ask other people without authority about what they should be doing. And what I mean by that is, usually when people have issues in a relationship, the first person to go to is their friend or their mom. How can your friend or your mom or your family member give you validation about what's going on in your relationship? If anything, the only people who would know are yourself and your partner, or someone else who's an expert in relationships, so for example, a relationship therapist. But even within that, the authority is limited, because a relationship therapist might have the knowledge and the expertise, but they don't have the authority over you or your relationship. Even you have limited authority when it comes to a relationship or things outside of yourself, because you only have authority over yourself. And that leads me to the ultimate authority, the one who has authority over me and the world, the one who created me, the one who knitted me together in my mother's womb, the one who has a plan and a purpose for me. So when God is the ultimate authority, his opinion carries more weight than anyone else's. The solution is seek validation if you need to, but seek it from the right source. And that actually takes us to people pleasing, because just like me mentioning God will make some people feel more connected to me, it will put others off. And that's life. No matter how kind, caring, and accommodating you are, you will never be able to please everyone. So if you're going to disappoint some people either way, why betray yourself in the process? Why not be yourself? So the solution is to accept that pleasing everyone is impossible, and when you stop trying to achieve the impossible, you stop giving your power away. The third one is performance, and whenever I worked with people who felt like they needed to perform because they didn't feel safe being themselves, it led to one of two places. One, feeling resentful and angry, and two, feeling isolated and burned out because you can only perform for so long. And the difficult part is that when you perform a version that other people approve of. So a lot of connections are being built, but the connection is with the fabricated version of you and not the real you. And in order to keep that connection, you have to keep the performance going. But the more you perform, the more authority you hand over to the people you perform for. Because essentially you're saying you get to decide who I become. So the solution is to sit with, what do you think? What do you value? What do you need? Because authenticity starts with a relationship with yourself. The fourth point was indecisiveness, and the way it shows up is through delaying decisions, letting other people decide, or even worse, nowadays letting AI decide. And the reason I'm saying even worse is because when you go to other people to ask for their opinion, it requires a level of vulnerability by saying, I don't know what to do, can you help me? And that vulnerability in itself holds up a mirror to you, a mirror that's showing you that you're indecisive, a mirror that's showing you that you're seeking validation and reassurance from others. But when you go to AI, it doesn't require the same vulnerability. It doesn't hold up a mirror to you, but just so much easier to keep doing it without gaining the self-awareness. And the more you strengthen your trust in others or in AI, the more you weaken your trust in yourself. So the goal isn't actually to always make the right decision. The goal is to trust yourself enough to handle the outcome, even when you make the wrong decision. So the solution is to make a decision. If it's the right decision, it will enforce self-trust that you can make the right decision. And if it's the wrong decision, it will enforce self-trust that you're able to handle the outcome. So either way, you're collecting evidence that you're able to trust yourself. And the more you trust yourself, the more you step into your authority. So authenticity is not confidence. Authenticity comes first. Confidence is the byproduct, because authenticity is learning, feeling safe being yourself. And when you feel safe being yourself, you feel safe stepping into your authority and you stop giving it away. Let me know which point resonated with you the most, and I'll see you in the next one.